Procrastination and the dance of fears, understanding the mind to start making changes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Subconscious Reprogramming Community or the Mind Engineer Community. Thank you for being here. And today I want to talk about this very important topic that I see a lot of people struggling with. As you know, I've been an entrepreneur for 28 years and a mindset coach for 16 years. And speaking with thousands of people around the world. And right now I'm working, even a company has hired me to offer some lectures and work with their employees, or their, not their employees so much, this would be the students that are in that company hiring their services, right? And I see over and over again this procrastination issue that most people are struggling. And although many have tried different things to try to overcome procrastination, it's something that keeps coming up over and over again. And I want to talk about procrastination and also, as I mentioned here, the dance of fears, because it's that dance of fears that is holding us back and causing the procrastination. So the first thing I want to share with you guys is that procrastination is not the problem. Procrastination is the symptom to something deeper. Procrastination is showing you that there is something within you that is resisting to do what it needs to do. And that's where I call it now the dance of fears. So many times when we need to do something in our life, change jobs, I don't know, get out there, maybe start dating. I work with a lot of people that are struggling with that, asking for a raise, starting your own business, whatever that is, right? That you're finding yourself procrastinating. The idea to start understanding is, what a lot of people are talking nowadays is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is to be able to emotional intelligence, put it together, the emotions and the intelligence part, and try to start identifying, how am I feeling? Because one of the things, as soon as we move out of the comfort zone, we're going to hit the fear zone. So a lot of people are scared of doing, and it's not actually the fear of doing they are scared of. If we go one step further, they're scared of doing because if it doesn't go the way they expect, they're going to be judging, rejecting, causing a lot of pain within them. So they're scared of what they're going to tell themselves about themselves. Yes? So when this is happening, unfortunately, I'm scared of doing, right? So we have the fear of doing and the fear of not doing. So that's where I call it the dance of fear, the fear of doing and the fear of not doing. Most people have fear of doing. They're very scared of doing and things not going their way, again, because how they talk to themselves. So now they fall into procrastination. The mind is going to keep you from not doing to protect you. Because again, the fear of doing is higher than the fear of not doing. But then suddenly what I see a lot is the fear of doing, the fear of not doing. As I started getting to, a deadline, the fear of not doing starts rising. Because if I don't do, imagine your taxes, suddenly, I know something happened and you're not able to pay rent, you're not able to pay your expenses, right? Somebody got sick and you need more money. That's when suddenly the fear of not doing, not asking for a raise, starts overcoming the fear of doing. So now suddenly the fear of not doing is higher and you end up doing. Yes. Another example could be a person that is starting to start a business or investing money. They're not doing. Again, the fear of doing is higher than the fear of not doing. They don't do, they're scared, they're stuck. And suddenly something happens and they find themselves in a difficult, tight position economically. And it's, if they don't start creating some money, gaining some money, they're stuck. So now this, again, the fear of not doing overrides the fear of doing, and now they do. So we're constantly working with this fear of doing and fear of not doing. And most people, when you see procrastination, is that the fear of doing is running the show. And for a lot of people, that is happening. Why? Because they fall into judging and criticizing themselves when things don't go as expected. So first of all, we need to start realizing the mechanism that's going on. Second of all, start to becoming more aware, self-conscious of how you're treating yourself. How do you talk to yourself when things don't go your way? That's an exercise you can take with you. How do you talk to yourself when things don't go the way you expect? And normally, most people talk to themselves in a very negative way, in a very diminishing, bad way. And the mind, again, feels pain through that. And then the mind says, hey, I need to protect Tommy from feeling this pain again. So what does it do? It creates procrastination. It creates a protective mechanism of me not being able to take actions so that I don't feel the pain. So when we start understanding these dynamics in the mind, instead of fighting against procrastination, fighting against the part that is trying to protect you, the idea, and I know it goes against what most people are teaching, seriously, is to love and accept every part of you. Every part of you needs to be integrated. We're meant to become one mind, one consciousness, right? The individualization that we came here to Earth to manifest with ourselves and with others. But unfortunately, we're not being able to do that. So then many times what we do is we fall into war with ourselves because we're not behaving the way that we should. We're not getting the results that we should because we have certain patterns, certain behaviors that shouldn't be there. People that are falling into perfectionism, analysis paralysis, procrastination, overwhelm, stress, anxiety, depression. People are beating themselves up. I talk to people every week, whether it is that I'm working with or people that I just talk over social media, that they comment on a video or whatever, in different arenas from all around the world. And most people out there are beating themselves up because of the behaviors that they're having. So if somebody's beating themselves up for having procrastination, they're gonna find it very difficult to change that procrastination into action, because that procrastination is trying to protect you from something deeper. As I just said, maybe the fear of doing and then being beaten up by yourself or maybe by others too, right? If things don't go well as expected. So it's you beating yourself up normally. So what do we need to work on to dissolve the procrastination? Is not about beating yourself up because you're procrastinating, is thanking yourself for the procrastination, because that part of you that is doing the procrastination is doing it because of a lack of love. Something that I've been seeing for the last 16 years more and more in more confirmation, right? Tony Robbins talks about pain or pleasure. Pain or pleasure are the two main human drivers. For me, I go one step further, and for me, it is looking for love. That it could be pleasure or numbing the pain of the lack of love. Seeking for love or numbing the pain of the lack of love. So I understand that a part of me is procrastinating to, in a way, protect me from the pain of the lack of love that there's going to be if I don't get the results that are expected. That is a problem. So by being more mean to ourselves, nothing is going to change. If you keep doing the same things you're doing, nothing is going to change. If nothing changes, nothing changes, guys. Seriously, if you keep doing the same things, beating yourself up when things don't go well, unfortunately, nothing is going to change, and you're not going to find that relief that you're looking for. So if you want to be able to start taking actions, you need to start understanding how the mind works, why is it doing what it is doing, and then go deeper to see where does this come from. So again, how do I start developing emotional intelligence and, of course, self-awareness, self-consciousness, right? Recognizing what's going on. So first, okay, there's procrastination. Around what? So I start exploring around what is the procrastination, right? It could be doing my taxes. It could be, I don't know, paying something. It could be finding a new job. It could be tidying up a room, whatever that is. Doing the laundry. Once, some time ago, I was working with a woman that she was having struggles, doing the laundry. So what is it? Okay, laundry. What is it? Doing the taxes. Okay, let's pick doing the taxes. How do you feel about doing the taxes? How do you feel about doing your laundry? How do you feel about tidying that room? How do you feel about asking a raise to your boss? How do you feel around starting to contact people to build your business? How do you feel around that specific chore, that specific thing that you need to do? Start exploring your emotions. How people tell me, but Tommy, it's very difficult for me to, find something. Normally I ask these questions that you teach and I don't get anything. Okay, many times we don't get anything because we're coming from a place of judgment and criticism. When we're coming from a place of judgment and criticism, the mind tends to shut down. So I'm giving you different lectures like this to give you pieces of the puzzle, but remember that we got to put them together. I cannot give you everything together in one thing because I have to spend hours and hours putting everything together. So I'm throwing different pieces at you guys with these free calls that I'm doing, right? To give you information, insight, to help you then go deeper by connecting the different lectures, teachings, and things that I offer. How do I feel around this specific thing that I'm not doing? Normally you're going to start finding fear. The problem is that we have been taught that fear is wrong. That's another reason why normally fear doesn't come up as the first emotion that we might be feeling, or we might not connect to that. Even people that I work with tell me, but Tommy, no, I don't feel scared. I tell them, okay, that's fine. And we keep on working. And maybe that same day or another day, a week ago, a week later, a month later, they're like, you know what, Tommy, and started to realize that, yeah, I am scared, but I was denying it. So fear. What else? Right? So how do I feel? Write down the different emotions and then explore the next question with those different emotions. Why do I feel this? Why do I feel this? Second question. So scared, shame, guilt, whatever that is. Once I was working with a woman that she was not investing time in her business, but she had time. Although she was telling me at the beginning, oh, Tommy, I have no time. I started asking her a question, how much time do you spend on social media? She told me that she spent a couple of hours a day on social media. Do you watch movies at night? Do you watch movies during the day? And she's like, yeah, sometimes I watch some movies. How long do you spend there? Like an hour. Social media, 2 hours. So I found 3 hours that she could be spending for her business. And people tell me sometimes I need to relax. Yes and no. Many times you need to relax because you're pushing yourself too hard, and that's why you need to relax. But out of those 3 hours, if you want, you can spend 1 or 2 hours in your business. The going to social media is just telling me that you might have pain and you're, again, using behaviors to numb the pain of the lack of love. So a part of you is showing you that it doesn't feel loved. So what do we need to practice? Self-love. So how do I feel? Why do I feel this? And the third one, very important one, is how does this make me feel about myself? How does this make me feel about myself? So imagine that I'm not reaching out to people. I'm not doing my taxes. And some people tell me I'm not doing my taxes. How does that make me feel about myself? It makes me feel angry that I'm not doing my taxes. Okay, so I change the question. How does it make you feel if you find out that you need to pay the government $5,000, $2,000, $10,000? And suddenly they say, oh, I feel like I'm stupid because I should have saved that money instead of spending it. So there's the answer. They have a narrative, a negative narrative. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not valuable. I'm stupid. I'm whatever, right? The narrative that is creating the fear, that is creating the protective mechanism to avoid feeling the fear and to feel or confirm that you are stupid because, you should have saved that money to pay the government instead of spending it all during the year. And I get this from a lot of people. So the problem is that you're going to beat yourself up when you find out how much money you owe to the government because you didn't plan. And that's an example, right? It could be, not asking for a raise. So how do you feel around asking for a raise? Oh, I want a raise, Tommy. So are your actions aligned with that you wanting a raise? And they say no. So then I ask them this. What would happen if your boss says that they cannot give you a raise or that you still don't deserve a raise? And now they come into, I wouldn't feel worthy. I wouldn't feel valued. I wouldn't feel recognized. There you go. So these questions need to be adapted according to every person's unique experience. I cannot just give you all the questions you got to ask because first it would drive you crazy. And second of all, the idea is to listen to the person's story, your story maybe, and then start adapting these questions to those stories. So, I'm not talking to people. How do you feel that you're not talking to people? Oh, I feel angry because I should be talking to people. Okay, but what would happen if somebody you talk to, they say to you that, please don't bother me anymore. You sound desperate. Oh, I'm not interested in what you got to offer. That's when you start finding out what is the true narrative that you're telling yourself that is holding you back. So again, in this dance of fears, I need to see where I'm at. I'm at dance of fear of not doing, right? That's much scarier than doing. So then I'm not going to do. But again, I could be scared of doing and not getting the results that I should get. So then the fear of doing is stronger. So then I'm not going to do. So as you can see, we're many times playing around these fear levels to do things or not do things. And there's some certain methods that can increase the fear to get you to do something. But at the end, if you think about it, you're getting fear to drive your life. And I want to teach people how to stop using fear to run your life. It can give you some advice. And a big mentor of mine always said, fear is a good advisor, but is a bad driver. So when we start embracing fear and putting it in the companion's, seat and allowing yourself to listen to it, but then do what's best for you. So we get advice from fear, but we don't let it run the show. That's how things slowly start changing. Again, what else do I need to do? Go deeper to identify the narrative, the story you're telling yourself that is creating that fear. Because behind the fear, there is a narrative. It could be, I'm not good enough. It could be, I'm not worthy. I'm stupid. I'm whatever. So there is a narrative that is creating the fear. So I need to go deeper, going through the fear, acknowledging and validating the fear. I have valid reasons to feel scared. The more you deny it, the more difficult it's going to be able to start making changes. So I truly recommend that you start validating your emotions. Emotional intelligence, it's something that more and more people are talking about, but it's key in changing self-awareness to really be able to acknowledge and accept how you're feeling, right? And then going deeper to the three questions. How do I feel? Why do I feel this? And how does this make me feel about myself? And asking variations of those questions, as I just showed you, gave you some examples to start understanding what is going on. Because seriously, guys, to be able to dissolve behaviors, dissolve, not change, dissolve behaviors, I need to go to the root. And normally it's all about self-love. A part of me that is not feeling loved is creating behaviors to try to survive. The more I work on that, the easier it's going to get to start making changes. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know what you think down there in social media. Let me know your comments. If you have heard this before, if you've tried it before, where you're at. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you can, subscribe so you can get more insight, more tools to start helping you make changes.